Hi, Sani.
Hi,
Hi, good afternoon to you.
good morning to you.
My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. First up, thank you very much for saying yes to be interviewed today.
My pleasure.
My podcast talks a lot about self-worth, and I myself experienced this crisis past few years ago, and I'm sure everyone, if not most, some, if not most, or even all, at some point in their lives, did experience this. But I'm also a person who likes to dive deep into different topics. Therefore, when I saw your profile, I think it's a good uh topic to be talked about today. And yeah, I have been in the corporate 9 to 5, and now I'm doing this full time and jumping into my own practice. So still not gonna let go of the corporate world. So instead, I'm having people come talk on
Mhm.
my show. So
Sure.
so yes, I'd like to read a bit of your introduction for our listeners today, and then we can dive into the conversation. So hey everyone, we have Sani Abdul-Jabbar here with us. Sani is a distinguished tech entrepreneur and a thought leader in AI, blockchain, and machine learning. He's also the host of the widely acclaimed Blockchain Brief podcast, fellow podcaster. With more than 20 years of experience in the tech sector, Sunny's expertise and contributions to emerging technologies are highly regarded. He currently serves as the CEO of Vestech, an emerging tech company based in Los Angeles, specializing in software development and providing on-demand developers for cutting-edge technology projects. Wow. Welcome, Sunny.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So you're mentioning of the relationship between corporate world and non-corporate endeavors. It's interesting because I kind of took the same path for many, many years. I worked in the corporate world, and even now, every now and then, I go back to the corporate world as an advisor or consultant
Advisor.
when I can spare some time. There was a point in my life when I thought one was better than the other. I'm not going to name which one is better than the other, but I did
Mm.
have that notion. And even people who worked in one work versus the other, I perceived one group of people to be superior than the other group of people.
Yes. Yes.
Later on, although I realized that I was wrong. As
Mm.
we live, we learn. I realized that we need both type of people. We need both type of work styles. We need corporations, even though corporations isn't the most efficient version or framework of doing things, but it's a framework. It's probably one of the better
Yes.
frameworks.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
I have respect for both type of work styles and both type of groups of people. So just wanted to
I
put it out there.
yeah, exactly. It's good that we clear
Yeah.
this thing out there. But I myself agree that too. Been in the corporate for about 15 years, so now jumping into something new, and I believe we need both. Yes, I
Yeah.
mean the world is all about balance, so
Mhm.
polarity. So I am truly with you on that. So, Sunny, before we dive into the serious business of AI
Mhm.
and blockchain and everything else, can you share with us what was it like growing up as Sani Abdul-Jabbar?
Wow, that's a deep question. It rarely ever happens that a host asks me a question and I have to stop and think. So you did that. Congratulations.
Uh, I get that a lot. And this is why I don't really send my questions across. So it's
I'll tell
like
you
that.
I'll tell you a short story to answer your question. Many, many,
Thank you.
many years ago, growing up in Pakistan, that's where I'm originally from. My family bought their first television. And when my family bought their first television, the night before, when my dad was going to go buy the television, he brought money from the bank and kept that money at the house. And I saw dad walking in the house with this bag of something, and I'm like, Dad, what's that? It was an opaque bag. I couldn't see what's inside. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, it's cash. I'm like, what for? He's like, well, you wanted a TV, so tomorrow we're going to go buy a TV. It's like, okay,
Mm.
how much is the TV gonna cost? So he
Yeah.
told me some number, and I was very, very young. I don't even remember how young. Must be early primary school. And I heard that number, and I was like, wow, that's a massive, huge number. So I'm like, Dad, you're gonna give all that money to the guy who's gonna sell us the TV? He's like, yeah, that's how it works. So
Mm-mm.
I kind of decided what I was going to go in my life: sell televisions.
No way.
I
You
wanted
took
to
that
sell TV.
from the
Ob-
inspiration. That
Well,
was the
yeah, because
inspiration.
obviously the guy who sells the TV, he makes all that money, right? And a few years later, my family bought a refrigerator. I don't know if it was the first or second refrigerator, that I don't remember, but it was a refrigerator. That time, again, my dad brought money home the night before from the bank. I don't know what was the reasoning. Why would he bring money home? Why not go like write a check or something, or go straight from the bank to? I don't know
To
I
the
don't
shop
remember the reason.
itself.
I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna ask him when I talk to him next time. So this time when he brought money home, it was in a transparent plastic bag. So
Mm,
the bag must have been inside another like opaque bag of some sort.
right.
But what I saw was a transparent plastic bag, and there were these stacks of bills in it. And I'm like, Dad, what's that? Why? He's like, well, we're gonna buy a fridge tomorrow. And I'm like, is that all that money gonna go to the guy who's gonna sell us the fridge? He's like, yeah. Okay, change your plans. I'm gonna sell it.
Within the span of what, 2 years?
Something like that. Something like that, maybe even less. So that happened. And so many years went by. My father is a physician, and in many cultures, I don't know how it is in the Philippines, but in Pakistan, whatever your parents do, you're supposed to follow
Kuala
them.
Lumpur. I'm in
Sorry?
Malaysia.
Oh,
But
I'm
you
so
got the
sorry.
Philippines right. No,
Phil-
but you got
yeah,
that because I'm Filipino by blood, but
but you
born
are
and
in
raised
Kuala
in
Lumpur.
Malaysia.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it. I
Yes.
won't make that mistake again. I've been to both of
No,
those
no,
places,
no
and
worries.
I like both of those places.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, so in Pakistani culture, whatever your parents do, whatever your father does, you're supposed to follow his footsteps.
Mm.
He's in the healthcare field. I'm supposed to become a doctor. And by high school, when I had to dissect my first frog, I decided
Mm.
that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So then they
Mm.
decided I'm going to be an engineer. So they put me on the engineering track. And so I
This is
studied pre-engineering, mathematics, physics, that kind of stuff. And when it was the time to actually join engineering school, I went there. I still remember one of my cousins. He drove me there. He's a few years older than me, an MBA. At that time, he was a student still in the business program. So imagine this: we are standing at this university campus. There's the engineering school. There's the business school, and I'm supposed to go to the engineering school. That's why my family sent me there with the admission forms and the money to pay the admission. And my cousin looked at me. He's like, what you thinking? I'm like, just thinking where I want to go. And he's like, are you sure you want to be an engineer? So the whole story of selling TVs and selling refrigerators, all that came back. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. He's like, well, how about we apply at the business school instead of the engineering school? So in that moment, I decided that I'm not going left. I'm going to swipe right.
swipe right. And swipe right you did.
Swipe right I did. So that's
Yeah.
how I ended up in the business school and never looked back. I'm glad I made that choice. Yeah, that's how that's my growing up.
And what was your dad's take on that? What did he
Oh,
say?
till the end of the first semester, my dad didn't know what I was studying. So after the semester break, I went home and he asked me, how's the grades? And I
Uh-huh.
started telling him, well, international marketing, managerial accounting, A, whatever A. He's like, that doesn't sound like engineering course. What are
Engineering,
you
yeah.
talking about?
You're supposed to be talking thermodynamics
Yeah,
and the
exactly. So, yeah, there were some disappointments and stuff. Funny story, many years later, I was talking to my mother one day and I said, I was telling her the story of a project that I was leading at that time here in Los Angeles. And I said, you know what? I just hired 3 doctors, cancer research doctors, because we were working on a project, a software that was about cancer research. So I needed subject matter experts. So I hired them from University of California, Los Angeles. And my mother's response, you could have been a doctor. I'm
exactly.
like, Mother, I just
But
hired
I
3.
hired them. You see them working for me.
Yeah. She's like, no, you could have been a doctor. So they never forgave me.
I yeah, I okay, I don't want to say I resonate, but I think my sister would because my sister did not she got all the scholarships. She went to Indonesia, completed her doctor medical degree, but I think within 1 week of her residency, she pulled out. And my dad is still salty about it. I mean, it doesn't get addressed at this point still because we wanna because we're all adults now. But then my
Yeah.
dad was still I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that. So it's the notion of that generation, right?
But yeah,
And it's also funny how we picked up as kids, we picked up all of this thinking like, okay, what's the best way to make money?
yeah.
And I myself, I wanted to be a pilot and everything else, but then I also went on the safer route, which is an accountant, because everybody needs an accountant. But right
Absolutely.
now I am jumping into psychology, so it is a big step for me as well. And
Good luck.
yeah. And well, jumping into business. So I hope my accounting will, somehow serve me some kind of path into starting my own thing. And and talking to people like yourself and all the other guests kind of gave me, you guys are like my real-time life coaches, even though I haven't chosen one coach, or yeah,
Well,
because
we learn
everybody
from
says,
each other. That's how it works.
yes, yes, yes. That's what I meant.
Yeah. We are each other's coaches. As far since you brought this up, I'll comment on it. The value of coaches, the value of mentors, is something that I realized way later in life, and that I regret. I don't have very many regrets in life, thanks God. There are very few regrets, and this is one of them. The culture where I grew up, it's a very masculine culture. So masculine culture means you don't ask for help. You're on your
I'm
own.
okay. I got this.
Yeah, I got this. And the funny thing is that even when people say I am self-made, I did it on my own, there is no such thing as doing it on your own, right? There is no such thing as self-made. Yes, some people put in more effort than the others. Yes, that's a choice we make. So when it comes to mentors, one mentor, I don't think that works in today's world, especially. Gone are the days when, if you want to become pick a profession, blacksmith, you go find a blacksmith and you work with a blacksmith for years and years and years and you become a
Mhm.
blacksmith. We don't live in that era anymore. Even if you want to be an accountant, how many skills you have to develop? We had to, you mentioned psychology. We had to study psychology during our business program because psychology has a lot to do with money. Psychology has a lot to
Yes.
do with how we handle investments, how we handle management, personality types, basic human needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is all psychology. You study someone like Peter Drucker, half of his work is psychology, even though he's a management guru.
Yes.
So because of the complexity of professions, complexity of everything that we do, one mentor doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So the advice that I've been given, I'll share with you. It might be useful for some of your listeners. You need a mentor who is at your level. Then you need a mentor who is just a few years ahead of you. And then you need a mentor who is way ahead of you. And why? The reason for that is person who is at your level, that person becomes your sounding board. So this person is not a random person, even though they're at your level, but they're smart, thoughtful people, intelligent people. And when you talk to them, they're dealing in the real time. Currently, they're dealing with similar issues that you're dealing with, right? So there are
Yeah.
case studies. There is, you can share ideas with them. They can share their ideas with you. They might have find solutions to problems. You might have find solutions to problems. So that's why we join interest groups, different sort of networking groups, different sorts of people who gather around same type of challenges or same type of endeavors or learning or even a classroom. So
Right.
that people gathered around the goal of completing that course, for example, right? Then
Yeah.
you need a person who is, say, about 5-ish years ahead of you, 3 to 5 years. Why? You need to know what your next step is
Mm.
in whichever field you want to go, right? So that's why you need the person who has just been there. Now they're a little bit ahead, but they've been there recently, so they know more recent problems.
Right.
Then you need a person who is 15 years ahead of you. That's the person who is going to sort of help you chart the course of your life, long-term vision. So that's the idea of mentors. But the short version is that we do need multiple mentors, multiple coaches to get somewhere.
I have two questions for you, Sunny. So number one is the difference between mentor and coaches. I've asked this to some of my guests as well. Some of them give the quite similar answer, but some of them gave a very differing answer. And also number two, I thought that because some of the coaches or they say it's a holistic thing where ideally you need to have business
Mm-hmm.
business or professional, your life coach, your
Mm-hmm.
professional coach. I don't know, whatever you need to become this, have a holistic
Yeah.
package or outlook of your life. So you're going towards that direction. So what is your take on that?
I think to a degree that's a fair description. Coach, I see coach as that's more focused at a skill. So, soccer coach, right?
Mm,
A coach that's going to teach you a skill. They're going to,
right.
right? So I would sometime call my public speaking coach. I would call him and say, can you please coach me to speak to audience X?
Mm,
Right? Like if I'm getting into a situation where I have to deal with something that I haven't dealt with before. For example, not too long ago, I had to speak in a church, not on a religious topic. I'm not a priest. The topic was a general, like some social topic, but the venue was a church, and
mm,
it's like the cathedral style church. It's a different type of environment. I have never spoken in that sort of environment. You are far away from the audience. You're way high up on the at the podium.
yeah.
The way sound works in that room is different than most of
Different.
the arenas where I have spoken before. So I said, can you please coach me how to speak in that environment? So he actually took me to the church, one evening, and I stood at the podium. He stood at different places in the room, all the way back side,
To hear you
to hear
speak.
me speak, and then he coached me how to change the way I speak in that environment. So that's a very specific skill-based um, coaching or advice.
Mm, mm, mm,
Mentor. Now, my mentor, for example, is a person that's more involved, and it's not one; it's multiple. So these
mm.
people are more involved. I speak with them periodically. I make a point. It's actually on my calendar. Call mentor X. So every so often I call them. They're more involved, and when we meet, they're like, "So, how's life? How's it going?" Right? They ask questions. They go deeper. They're more invested in my life and in my work. And so the relationship, I think, the quality of relationship is different. It's deeper versus just focus on a skill. Can
Mm.
a coach be a mentor? Certainly. There are coaches who are mentors, and there are mentors who become coaches. The role can be alternate. There's no very hard line between the two. A coach cannot be a mentor, but generally speaking, mentorship is more holistic, more deeper, more relationship based, more ongoing, more long term. Versus coaching can be very targeted at a specific skill, can be for a short amount of time.
Fitness coach, like
Fitness
six
coach,
months. Okay. Get a
yeah,
goal of, six
yeah,
packs and that's it. Mm,
precisely, yeah.
mm, mm,
So when
mm,
the
mm.
keg comes back, you go back to the six pack coach.
But I
Right?
think the baseline is, I think you're
Yeah.
right. It is, and in Asia, coaches are not very big, and it's only bigger, at least at what I see right now, that people are getting coaches to get help on the different areas of their life. At your
Yeah.
baseline, if you really want to get ahead to where you want, you can try on your own, but it takes a lot more effort because you've never done that, and there's more trials and errors that you have to go through. Rather than if you have coaches,
Absolutely.
okay, they can pinpoint, like, do not avoid this pothole, please move ahead and
Yeah.
go left or right. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. Do we have coaches in Asia? Coaches have always been around. It's just that they were never
Maybe I
called.
just not.
No, they were not called. Coaching wasn't a profession. Mentorship wasn't a formal relationship. It's a very Western thing that kind of the East
Yes.
adopted, right? In the
Yes.
Because of the way society is structured. I don't know much about Indonesia or Malaysia or or the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
um, only from a distance, but I'm imagining that Asian societies are somewhat similar in a sense that they're close-knit communities. You always have an uncle that you can call for advice, right? You always have a cousin who has done something that you want to do, right? And you can just pick up your phone and call. That's the
It's
culture, right?
actually true. That's true. Yeah.
Exactly. When I wanted to do things in Pakistan, I would ask my dad, I want to learn whatever, right? Soccer, for example. At one point, I was
Mhm.
interested in soccer. He just picked up his phone, called one of his buddies. He's like, hey, my son wants to learn soccer. And the guy is like, yeah, sure, we're going to go play. Same thing with badminton. I developed interest in badminton at one point. There was no like formal title coach, but
Yeah.
these people were around, right?
Mm.
And some people, they leveraged these relationships, and some people didn't. Same thing with mentorship. You always had somebody either in the family or among your friends or in your society in general that you could call and ask.
Yeah.
What West does really good, it formalizes things. It turns everything into a brand, turns everything into something that can be acquired or bought and sold. So that's how coaching and mentorship became, more formalized.
Now that you put it that way, it's clearer to me. Yes, it's much more informal here in Asia, but yes, and if I want something, I just said, Dad, I want to do this. Okay, you can call your uncle
Yeah,
there or your
exactly.
auntie how to start a bakery shop or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I got my first driver's license.
From of your somehow extended family member or
That's
acquaintances
and dad's friend.
has a that's leverage.
Leverage.
Yes.
Leverage. It's all about leverage. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sunny, okay, let's talk about your expertise. So
Hmm.
how should businesses leverage AI to ensure their success? I mean, in a way, how is AI reshaping businesses and industries with
Hmm.
a focus on its practical applications?
AI is, first of all, I would like to highlight that AI is not something that came out in October, November of
Mm.
2022 when ChatGPT was announced, right?
Yeah.
We did our first larger scale AI project, I think in 2015, 2016, something like that. So
Mm.
AI has been around for a while. The definition of AI, the premise of AI, what AI can do, what it means, it may mean different things to different people, but there's a general consensus at this point. Industry has evolved to a level where there is a general understanding of what AI means.
Mm.
LLM, large language models, ChatGPT type stuff, that's it's just one sliver of AI, something called machine learning. So it's, you give it lots of data, you say, look at this data, and then learn from it and create something similar to what I showed you.
Mm.
So that's like machine learning. We did that in the past in different scenarios. For example, there was a project in which an auto manufacturer, they have this feature. Now it's common. Back then it was very new feature where you wave your foot under the back of a car and the hood would the trunk would open,
Wood
right?
truck would open, yeah.
It would open. So the use case was your hands are full, like you're carrying groceries or something, right? You can't open the door with your hand, the trunk, and you would just wave. So what happened that a lot of people made videos of that feature and posted on YouTube. So what company
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do, they wanted to have real user videos, and they said, can you look at all these videos and only show us the videos where a user, a person is using that feature? Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we used machine learning to accomplish that. And then we took those videos and we linked them with the data, with the local telephone directory data of car dealerships where those cars could be bought. So now you have an
Mm.
ad where an actual user is using that feature and you like it and you're like, oh, I want to try that feature. And then their message pops up, would you like to try this feature in person? Call this number to
Here.
make an appointment, right? And the number would be your local dealership, right? So wherever
Ah.
you're viewing. So is this AI? Yeah, this is machine learning. This is a version of machine learning. So there are many different scenarios. Currently, we are involved with a project where the idea is, can we? It's a security project. Can't go too much into detail because it's still in development.
Mm.
Funded by the Department of Defense of the United States, by the way. So
Wow, that's a big one.
it's like veterans are going to run it. But the idea
Mm.
is that can we use standard cameras that are already installed in most buildings? And based on those cameras, can we track vehicles? Can we track individuals? Can we track their behavior? And based on their behavior, their movement, and all that, can we determine if there's a risk, if there's someone that poses a risk? That's machine
Because it's
learning,
Department of Defense,
right?
right? Okay,
So,
high risk.
right. So, tracking person based on facial recognition, that's piece of cake.
Yeah.
Right. So 2019, I landed in where was it? Singapore, Taiwan, I think. I landed in Taiwan, and I'm walking out of the plane, and the person, the immigration person, or some airport staff person, he greeted me by name.
Whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
they hadn't seen my ID yet, right?
Uh-huh.
They're like,
Yeah.
welcome, Mr. And I'm like, how do you know me? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, intellectually, I know how. So the point is that image recognition or facial recognition, that's been around for a while now. But the idea of looking at a person's body movement and a movement around a building and their behavior and or a crowd's behavior, and then trying to determine if there is a risk factor involved. Therefore, humans now need to start watching. So if there's a risk factor, a warning comes up for the humans, and now humans can watch on different cameras. And as the person moves across a premise, a building, for example, it doesn't matter how many stories or how complex, when this person moves from camera to camera, you can track that person or that group of people, even when they are shifting from camera to camera. So the cameras are,
Scary and exciting.
well, yeah, but it's for safety of the people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we're gonna,
Of
start
course.
taking some negative actions at that point or any
But it's for monitoring
measures.
purposes, and
And no, it's
this is tracked, right?
it's for civilian purposes, but the Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Defense veterans, military veterans, they are involved in this project, right? So they are bringing their military skills for safety and security in the civilian life, right? So can AI be used? Yes. In businesses, wherever. Your question was more in the business context. Sorry, my brain kind of went
I
all
mean,
over
it's
the
okay.
place.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, you know why? Because I like to watch all this SWAT and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
was already imagining things right now. Wow, it's happening. Like you telling me the project, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be interesting.
Right. So
Really.
that's interesting. Then, and the beauty of this project is that we don't even have to install any new hardware. It's the same old regular cameras. All we need is the video feed. As long as it's a decent video feed, it's decent lighting and all that, we can work with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. In the business world, so taking a step back, where AI works best, AI's lifeblood is data. Whenever you have data available, and data can be anything, numbers, pictures, videos, whatever, audio, any information, that's data. If you have plenty of data available, then you can do something with it. If you don't have data available, you can't do anything with it. AI does not work without data. AI's lifeblood, like I said, is data. So now going back to your question, where in business we see AI doing something. So my response to that would be, think where you find the cleanest and the most amount of data
Mm.
in your previous line of work, accounting.
Oh, my
Accounting.
modules, my software.
Well, my question was more in the context of which business function, right?
Finance. I would
Finance,
say,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's where I come from.
that's where you come
Finance,
from,
exactly.
right? So that's why I said your previous line of work,
Right. Okay.
right? Because like your whole profession revolves around having accurate data, to like fourth decimal point in accounting,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that's where you get the cleanest data. Then you have finance. Finance is forward looking. Some impurities, some inaccuracies are acceptable. Accounting is backward looking, so it has to be perfect. Finance forward looking, a little bit inaccuracies are okay.
Projection base. Yeah.
Projection based, right? There's estimates, and so that's where you get clean data. Then you have sales. If you ordered 10 widgets and you paid for 10 widgets, it's 10 widgets, right? So it's clean data. Then you have marketing. In marketing, now marketing, there's a lot of guesswork. So I'm investing some money, I'm getting feedback from the market, investing money in the marketing campaign, I'm getting some feedback, but it's not always cut and dry, clean, very clean and clear. If a lead coming into the business is
It's gonna
produced.
generate X output or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I invested $100, which leads does that $100,
Gonna be
relate?
maximized. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
be turning that into conversion.
So there's a lot of
Something. Yeah.
there's a lot of estimation there, right? Not very clean data. But then you go to customer service, how many customer service calls came in, how much time was spent on them, how many people were satisfied, how many people place the order. Now you have some decent quality data. Point that I'm trying to make is that whenever someone asks you this question, where in business AI can make an impact, the answer is wherever there is clean data available, either firsthand or can be acquired through third-party sources, right? Same rule applies on industries. An often asked question is, which industries are the best candidates for AI adoption? Wherever you have the best data available. Where do you have the best data available? Which industries? Finance is the first. right? So that's why finance is the biggest investor in the AI space. Then you have healthcare, literally lives are on the line,
Yes.
right? And so on. You would think that entertainment industry would be one of the first adopters of AI. Yes, they are. They are, but their quality of data is not quite at the same level as finance and accounting. Therefore, you will not see adoption of AI as best as you would see in the other industries.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. And I want to take one step further. So for finance, let's say a case study
Mm-hmm.
for finance. So what is a project that you can use on the data from finance? Like what would you build?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is me.
Finance. So a few years ago, we did a project for a very large US bank, one of the top 10 in the world. And their challenge was, like all banks and financial institutions, fraud attempts. So fraud attempts happen. Now, this bank is a very large scale bank. When fraud attempts happen, they have insurances in place and they can protect themselves. And even if they can't protect, insurances kicked in and all that. But the idea was, can we predict fraud attempts? So kind of going back to the Department of Defense project idea that I shared with you, similar concept. This bank has been around for 100 plus years and they have tons of data available. It's a global bank. So they have lots of data available because of sheer size of transactions and customers. Turned out there is a correlation between users' online behavior on their platform, on their banking platform, and probability of fraud. There is certain type of behavior on their websites, on their mobile apps that can be correlated with fraud attempts down the road. Again, machine learning, right? So we took that data and we said, okay, well, then now using machine learning algorithms, can we determine ahead of time, before a fraud is committed, that someone is likely to commit fraud? And turned out, yes, we can. So but here's an interesting question. So now you know that someone is, have you seen that movie called Minority Report?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if you remember the movie, it's in that movie,
Minority Report was Tom Cruise, right?
Tom Cruise, long time ago, right?
Okay. A long time
So
ago. Yeah.
so if you remember, they try to catch will-be criminals, people who will become criminals down the road. They try to catch them ahead of time. An argument was, is it morally okay or not? When someone hasn't committed a crime yet, is it morally okay to catch them? So that conversation took place at the bank when we presented this solution. We said, yeah, we can predict that someone is likely to commit fraud, but can we penalize them when we know that they haven't committed the fraud yet? So what do we do?
Just the intention or the behavior.
And even likelihood, probability. There's no guarantee, right?
That's true.
So there's some executives were like, we should shut them down. We should just not allow them to use our platform. We should block them as quickly as possible. And my position was, no, we can't do that because that would be unfair. It's they haven't done anything yet, so it's unfair. So we put some systems in place where we could just raise red flags when we see someone is a risky user of their banking system, and then the bankers would call this person, verify the person's identity, and all that kind of good stuff. When we applied that system, the fraud went down by, I don't remember the exact numbers, but considerably, by a very large percentage. So that's an example of how in the finance world you can apply this.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to think of AI. So AI is not a standalone technology. You have to think of it as one piece of a bigger picture.
Be integrated into other
So,
areas of the business.
exactly. And like I said, AI works with data. So first you have to collect data. Data comes from somewhere. Either humans are entering it into the system or IoT devices or machines, aliens, somebody. Data is going into the system, right? And then you secure that data. And for that, currently we're using blockchain. That's one of the securest technology that's available to us. Then you apply machine learning models and AI model algorithms on it, and you try to find some actionable insights. Then you do those actionable insights, whether through smart contracts or other automations, or humans or machines. So it's like AI is the third step. First step is collecting the data, securing the data, then applying AI algorithms on it and doing something with it. So that kind of completes the picture.
I might just dive into AI on my own when I have free time after this. You just pique an interest within me, like because AI, the name itself, artificial intelligence, irks people. Like, oh, what is it? This is some new world that I
Hmm.
should learn, and I am far too. I'm a layman to enter into that, and it would take me a long time to understand it. But if you put it that way, very simple, very clear cut, and it relates to the people emotionally, that could be, we could even instill that on students, to start putting AI in the curriculum. No, this is just me thinking out loud.
Well, so that's a
Interesting.
very good point you raised. I spoke. I was interviewed in a podcast back in February, and one of the clips of that podcast, it went viral. We had millions of views, over 5 million at this point, I think.
Wow.
And I was interested in people's feedback. So I started reading the comments. And
Mm-hmm.
there were many, many, many negative comments. But they basically can be broken down into a few categories. One category is you're lying, BS, you don't know what you're talking about,
Okay.
right? Fake news. So that's that. The other category is I don't believe AI. Literally, I don't believe AI. And then there were a few
Mm-hmm.
other categories. So I don't believe AI. And my response is like, we're not talking about God or deity or something. It's not a matter of belief. It's science. So whether you believe it or not, it exists.
And
And
you are part of it.
you are part of it. Your
Yes.
decisions today, it's very important to remember that our decisions today are actually data for AI for tomorrow. So whatever decisions we're making today, that is data that's being collected, whether it's being recorded or being typed. Like in this day and age,
If you don't use technology, then okay, you can probably
yeah,
detach yourself from it. But if you're behind a computer acting like a keyboard warrior, you are a part of it.
you're part of it. You're
This
generating data. So that's that.
Yes.
So I kept thinking why some people are saying, I don't believe. Some people are saying fake news, you're lying, didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I concluded that it's the same fight or flight response. In psychology, we learn that it's whenever there's threat, we either, fight or flight. In the social media world, online world, fight means fake news, BS, you don't know what you're talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
flight is, I'm going to close my eyes. I don't believe the threat exists.
I'm gonna I'm gonna let the face pass, and then let's see if it's still there. Then
Yeah,
and then they're like the late adopters and like
too late.
S word. Too
Yeah,
late.
too late.
I should
Yeah,
have been in the bandwagon 10 years ago, something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly. How often do you hear people saying that I wish I should have? It's like there's no such thing as I wish I should have. It's like only this moment matters. What are you doing in this moment? You raised a very good point. People, when they think artificial intelligence, they think it's bigger than me. It's too far. I can't reach it. I'm an
Yes.
average layman. I'm too old. I'm not going to learn a new technology. I'm about
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
retire, or whatever. There are many different ways to, and these are all fight or flight responses. All of these.
Yeah.
Pick any profession today, any. I guarantee you that it's
Somehow.
either currently being impacted or it will be impacted very soon. IMF issued a report recently, late last year, I think, and they said that by the end of this decade, I think the number was, if I'm not forgetting, it was either 40%. I think they said 40% jobs that exist today will disappear, and more than 60% of the jobs will be significantly impacted. Jobs that exist today. They also said that new jobs are being created as a result of the AI adoption, and they will offset some of the job loss. But no one knows that the new jobs are going to offset the lost jobs equally with the same value, the same number, right? There are people who are saying, well, burger flippers, for example, at a burger restaurant, person who flips meat patties, AI
Yeah.
can't take over that job. Right here, down the street from my house, there's a restaurant fully run by robots and AI. Fully. It's right here, 10 minutes from where
LA?
LA. There's a suburb called Pasadena, 10
Ah.
minutes drive from where I'm sitting right now. Okay. So that
There
job is
you have
gone.
it.
Last
Mm.
week I reviewed a product. Oh yeah, then about a few months ago, I spoke on one of the forums, and I said, even doctors need to think about like how they're going to find their place in the new paradigm. And the response was, no, doctors, even the primary care provider, when they write prescription, they think about the patient's history and future and past, and they do
Machine
their
learning.
machine.
I mean, machine learning. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
can.
I'm like, what you're describing, that's data processing and machine learning. Yes, these doctors, they put in, and I'm not criticizing the profession at all.
Of course.
I love my primary care provider.
Me
So
too.
yeah, right. So these people to take care of us, they spend, half of their life in schools learning and memorizing all that stuff. They keep an eye on what's going on. But this is all data. This is data processing, right? So a few months ago, and I've been talking about it for about a year, that every profession that is primarily data based on data, that's gone. Right. And we'll talk about psychology in a moment. That might help you reconsider your
Okay. Yes.
And my doctor friends, they were like, no, we take so many variables into account, not going to happen. 3 days ago, I reviewed a product which is essentially it's your primary care provider. It's an AI that can prescribe medicine. So then the argument was, well, this software cannot prescribe medicine on its own. You need a primary care provider to look at the results and decide whether it's the good prescription or not. And I said, yeah, that's
Yes.
like Tesla's first version cars and current version auto drive cars. The first version was driver had to be in the seat. And the latest version is that, no, in my Tesla, I put in, my destination, it takes me wherever, right? I don't really trust it, but the point,
It can be done.
it can be done. The point
Yes.
is that it's first version. How about the second and third version? And it doesn't take very long. ChatGPT went from version 0 to version 4 point something in 2 years?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Tesla went from no auto drive to some auto drive to fully auto drive. How many years? So it's just a matter of versions, right? Matter of few years. Therefore, so the point is not that, everyone needs to, be scared and run for the hills that AI is coming, robots are coming. That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is that how do we find our place in the new paradigm? Now, let's talk about psychology for a moment. That might
Yes,
provide you
please.
some useful information.
I'm scared now, Sunny. I'm nervous.
My
Okay.
goal is not to make you nervous. My goal is to empower you with information.
Empower. Yes. Okay. See it from different perspective.
A
Yes.
different perspective.
I'm
So
ready.
we have a group of therapists, psychologists that we work with. And there are several dozen therapists in that group. They work from different locations. They meet their clients once a week, as most therapists do. The idea was, the question was, so a therapist meets a client once a week and they talk. Well, what happens during the week? The patient is not able to spare more time. The therapist is not available to spare more time. They can't meet more frequently. So they wanted to provide these patients some tools they can use during the week. So we created therapist AI. So, say there's a therapist called Nicolette. We call this Nicolette AI, Bob AI. These are therapists AI version. This is not one product. So Nicolette AI is based on a specific therapist's way of therapy, a specific therapist's method that they use, frameworks that they use, right? So every AI digital double of a therapist is based on that therapist's personality and style and work style and therapy
Clone
style.
in a way.
It's a clone in a way. Digital double is the word, right? So it's a clone. It's a clone. And we gave it to a test group, and we said to the test group that you can use it. It's a verbal conversation on your device. You talk to your therapist, and you can have a conversation, ask questions, and all that. And remember, everything you say is being recorded because we need that data to train the AI. Now, when you go to a therapist reminds you that everything that you say, all our conversation is protected.
Yeah.
You have privacy. In our test, we told our patients that everything you say is being recorded.
Yes.
You would think that the patients would hold back and won't be fully open.
Of course.
The opposite happened.
No way.
Some of the patients, they disclosed, and some of the patients who had been working with their therapist for years prior to this experiment, and they had not disclosed certain things. They started opening up and they disclosed those things. Childhood traumas, abuse by family members, extramarital affair, right? These kind of things that these patients it had not disclosed in front of their human therapist, and they disclosed it in front of machine therapists, where they were told they were being recorded, right?
Now my question,
Uh-huh.
why? What made them? What is that
Because
thing?
because we feel we are always afraid of being judged. Even when our therapist says there's no judgment, I'm your therapist, my job is to listen to you, we still, in the back of our minds, we are afraid of judgment. Judgment is part of our culture, it's part of our upbringing, from religion to family to parents, like always, right? The whole idea of, good deeds and bad deeds in religions, the whole idea of good kid and bad kid, in parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So we are afraid of judgment. It's built into our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit in front of a machine, you're like, it's a machine. It's not going to judge me. It has no emotions. You open up. So now, when that happened, well, first question was, what do we do with this information?
Yes.
Because when this kind of information, when it goes to a therapist, child abuse, for example, therapist is required, at least in the US and many other countries, they're required to report that.
Mm.
But when it's being reported to a machine, now what's a machine supposed to do with that information? I guess the same rules will apply. We don't have enough rules yet. So AI regulation is another topic where we could go with this conversation, but we don't have that yet. So that's happening. So my question to the therapists were, well, now you have seen that your digital doubles are actually more effective. So what do we do now going forward?
With
do you really want to? Huh?
Yeah. What do I do with you?
What do we do with you?
Yeah.
Right. So the human's role. So what I've been sort of advocating is that we all need to find our place in the new paradigm. We all need to find how we can bring value to the table. The era in which jobs are going to disappear, I think that's probably is still further down the road. It's not as close as sometimes is presented, but the roles are changing. So it's not like AI is coming to get your job today, but somebody who is an expert in using AI tools, they're definitely coming for a job. That I can tell you. So what you said earlier, that people sometimes feel like AI is something far bigger than me, or far advanced, or far away, or I can't afford it, or I can't learn it, or it's too complicated. You don't learn how to build a car to drive a car, do you? You don't learn to, fly a plane in order to travel by a plane.
Yeah.
Same thing with AI. You don't need to become an AI engineer in order to use AI, because modern AI tools, ChatGPT is a common example. You need to. There's a language that when you work with ChatGPT, prompting is called. So there's a way to use it. But every time you use a new tool, you learn it. When you bought your new mic, you had to spend some time on learning how to use it. Right? It's not like the old ways you just pick up your phone and you start talking. It's same thing. AI has its own language. AI has its own way of communicating and interacting with it. And everybody has access to it. That's the biggest thing. A kid sitting in, Southeast Asia or in the US has access to the same tools as, in any modern country. It doesn't matter. So when access has become democratized and people have access to different tools, and they're available online, and they're reasonably priced, I understand $20 may mean a lot in some parts of the world versus other. I get that. But still, it's not astronomical. It's not something totally beyond reach. So my suggestion to people in every field, and especially younger people.
Service-based.
Sorry?
Service-based.
Service-based? What do you mean by that?
I mean, okay, to be honest, I am worried for myself. Like, right after this conversation, I'm going to sit down and ponder, how am I going to make myself relevant?
Yeah, that's the question. These are tools. Can you use these tools in your work? Whatever that work is, accounting or psychology or podcasting or anything else.
Yeah.
We are not asking you to become an expert in AI. We are asking you to become an expert in the tools that are relevant to you. And if you ignore that advice, then that's not a good decision.
I'm gonna lose out on so many things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm getting the gist of it and the point, because right now Riverside, all of the new features are making the lives of podcasters so much easier. Like the clips. Yeah. I love it. And the summary notes, oh my gosh, it's I can focus on finding the right people to get on my show. And you also have a podcast, so
Yeah. So
you're
imagine how much time it saves you
yes,
just to do summary
yes,
notes or just to do action items or just to do clips. Like that's
correct.
a matter of minutes now. That used to be a matter of hours until recently.
Yes. But Sunny, I'm a person like, okay, we have all of this data
Mm-hmm.
consumption, people consumption, consuming data all the time, tsunami of information, and it's now back to the person like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
How do we dissect which data to take in? Like, I mean, this is just me thinking out loud. Like, I always think,
Yeah.
okay, we're going in this direction, but there's also the cause and effect of it on the other side, right? And I always believe there's always balance that we need to preserve in a way. This when you're talking about all of this, it's good, it's good, it's good. I can't help but to think like, how are people gonna be, because we're bombarded with data all the time.
Mhm.
5 minutes we clear our notifications, and then 5 minutes later again another 20. I think, okay, again, I may go off tangent right now,
Mhm. Please
but
do.
because I'm also a person, if I'm gonna enter into the coaching field, that means being holistic, being mindful, right? We live in a fast-paced world, but also there's importance of, being, take a step back,
Mm-hmm.
just be with yourself. And I guess that's where I wanted to come in for my next question, which is, what is your take on mindfulness amidst the work that you're doing right now?
So the value of all the best advice that we've received over the millennia in terms of mindfulness, in terms of presence, in terms of value of the current moment,
Yes.
that hasn't gone away, and that will not go away. That a mentor of mine, and Mark Goulston, he passed away back in December. He asked me a question. He said, "Does AI make us more human or less human?" And I said, AI makes us more human, right? Right.
Mhm.
And he was a psychologist, by the way, and a
Wow, so
really
many
accomplished,
parallels.
really many parallels, right? Really accomplished psychologist. I would suggest you look him up, actually, Dr. Mark Goulston.
That's a okay.
And he said, how and why? And I said, because most of us are stuck in jobs currently that we don't want to do. Most of us, we don't want to go sit in cubicles all day long, 9 to 5. And in the Western world, especially in countries like the US, there's no 9 to 5. There's from whenever till whenever. Like that's the work style here, right? And we do dangerous work. We do work that we don't want to do. We do work that doesn't fulfill us, doesn't make us better, because we need to earn our bread and butter. That's why we do all that. When AI takes away repetitive work, when AI takes away mundane tasks, when AI takes away the
I see
need,
where you're going.
when it makes us more efficient, I don't have to work, million hours a week in order to, have enough on my table. Then I have the freedom to be more human. Being more
Oh,
human, right? It's that freedom. You don't choose to be less of a human. You don't choose to live a lifestyle that's not very healthy. You're forced to, right? It's yeah, one could say that, yeah, these are your own choices you made. You always want to have the latest iPhone, you always want to have the latest car, the latest house, the latest everything. Yeah, but that's how, somehow one way or the other, it's like almost like economic slavery kind of thing, right? We
mm,
made ourselves slave to it. But if we have a system in which we are not required to do all that, and with less effort you can accomplish more, with less effort you can learn more, with less effort you can create more, right, through the use of these tools, then you have the freedom, mindfulness, and presence, and even the moral values, even being a good person. I say it's a luxury. It's a luxury of for those who can afford it. You can't
ooh,
be
I love that. I love that.
right. You can't think about mindfulness if you're hungry. You can't think about being a good person if your kid is sick and you don't have money to buy medicine for them, right? You can't think about being reasonable to other people if someone is about to take over, your land, your house, your whatever. all, all those good things happen when your basic needs are met. And if
Mm,
automation can take care of our basic needs, then we have the luxury to be better humans and more holistic humans. I don't know
mm,
if that. I
I
don't know if
love that.
it's
You just flipped the
philosophical.
whole narrative. I am going to use that as my perspective from this day on. And if people were to come to me, or even if I hear conversations, I'm like, what do you think of AI? I'm going to chip in. I'm going to quote you. I
Yeah.
spoke to Sani Abdul-Jabbar. Please follow him. So, Sani, I
Thank
am
you.
mindful of your time. I would want to ask you two more questions and then I can let you go. So,
Sure.
question number one. What is your
Yeah.
heart's greatest wish?
What's my heart's greatest wish?
That's right. For people to learn AI. I know. I'm joking.
My my heart's greatest wish is to leave this world a better place than how I found it.
Enough said. But nothing more to add to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Your decisions of today is AI's training data for tomorrow. So be mindful when you make decisions.
You just tied everything up with the ribbon. I love
There
that.
you go. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for your time. I had
It's my
such an
pleasure.
engaging, fun, and I was nervous. CEO.
Why?
I'm like, CEO. I'm like, okay, let's see. And then my mic wasn't working, and then we were in Zoom and Riverside, but I think I connected with you like on so many levels, and I learned so
Likewise.
much.
I
Thank
really
you
enjoyed our
so much,
conversation.
Sunny. If I do visit LA, we're connected in and probably will. Yeah. Because you're a
Absolutely.
speaker and I would like to hold an event perhaps and then we could talk details about it. I mean, this is
Well,
my
absolutely. No, if this is something,
my
seriously, if you are interested in holding events and whether online or in person, we can definitely talk about it. LA is a huge city and lots of opportunities.
thank you so much, Sunny. My
Yeah,
heart just jumped like that. Oh gosh. I
absolutely.
think I'm on the right path right now, so it was good leaving my 9 to 5. But my boss following me on Instagram, so when I take this clip out, he's gonna be like,
Bring your boss along.
join the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sunny, for your time. You take care and
It's my
have a
pleasure.
great life ahead. Thank
Likewise.
you.
Very nice talking to you. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.